Now we are live. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, bro.
we're live.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay, are we live?
Yeah.
Yes,
We are
we
live.
are.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Do we have this? Do we have this text up on the screen yet? I don't see it.
She's working on it. Yes.
Okay.
There we go.
Deconstructing the July 9th letter. None of this matters. Even if perfect and original, the May 28th recording could not be used in any legal context as it is not a forensic courtroom admissible recording. The take home is that Srila Prabhupada chose the term officiating acharya, not Tamal's insistence on dragging in the term Ritvik, which he learned from Narayan Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada never uses the term Ritvik even once in any of his translations or purports. Tamal made fools of us all by insisting on May 28th as well as July 9th in using the term Ritvik instead of Srila Prabhupada's term officiating acharya. Srila Prabhupada tricked Tamal by arranging for Tamal to be the author of the July 9th letter. Tamal signed at the bottom center where the author legally signs, and Srila Prabhupada signed on the left-hand margin, which is where the witness signs. Ask your lawyer for proof. As I am not a disciple of either Tamal or Narayan Maharaj, I choose to use officiating acharya, a term used by Srila Prabhupada from around 1970, instead of Tamal's term Ritvik. Regarding the third usage
I
mentioned.
want to say to this is Rukmanga Das. I'm responding to Rukmanga Das.
Okay. Regarding the
Okay.
third usage mentioned above in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada defines Ritvik, Ritvija, as the priests recommended by the spiritual master. The word used by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada is precisely Ritvija, used in multiple translations and purports. TKG used Ritvik, but it means Ritvija as divine by and used by Prabhupada. The term Ritvik or Ritvija is not used by Srila Prabhupada in any of his translations or purports. Ritvik, Ritvija, and many other variations are found in the Sanskrit texts of the Srimad Bhagavatam and other source books. Not once has Srila Prabhupada used the term Ritvik in the verse or purport. Can you find even one use in a purport or translated verse that Srila Prabhupada uses the term Ritvik or Ritvija? If so, post your sources. Now to the point, why do you prefer Tamal's insistence that the term Ritvik be used? Srila Prabhupada used the term officiating acharya, which dates back to the early 1970s, as his means of initiating the majority of his 5,000 plus disciples. Surely you do not think that Srila Prabhupada performed all 5,000 fire sacrifices and chanted on all 5,000 beads, or do you? It is transparently clear from the May 28th letter as well as the July 9th letter that Srila Prabhupada directed his disciples to use the term officiating acharya.
You can speak with more emphasis if you don't mind.
I can't understand why you insist on using Tamal's choice of Ritvik over Srila Prabhupada's term officiating acharya. In any event, Srila Prabhupada avoided the need to fight Tamal over the term Ritvik by having Tamal sign on the bottom center of the July 9th letter. This clearly establishes Tamal, not Srila Prabhupada, as the author of this letter, which Tamal foolishly imagined gave him extra power for initiations in the future, after his almost complete poisoning of Srila Prabhupada had taken place and was almost completed. Tamal wrote several letters in which he accurately stated that he, not Srila Prabhupada, was the author of the July 9th letter. I am at a loss to understand why you would prefer Tamal's authority to use the term Ritvik, that Tamal learned from none other than Narayan Maharaj, rather than the term used for about 7 years to perform ISKCON initiations, genuinely creating thousands of disciples for Srila Prabhupada as officiating acharyas. Why do you accept Tamal's authority over the authority of Srila Prabhupada? Are you initiated by Tamal? If so, that might make vestigial sense. The July 9th letter was witnessed, not authored by Srila Prabhupada. Please consult your lawyer on this matter. In simple terms, signature at the bottom center equals author. Signature at the left-hand side, even giving approval, is witness.
You can speak more deliberately, not just run on. Just work with the words. But thank you. You're doing a great job.
In other words, Srila Prabhupada tricked Tamal, knowing that Tamal was in the end stages of poisoning him, and knowing that Tamal wanted to use the term Ritvik to confound the ignorant and grieving ISKCON devotees, and also Tamal was working under the direct guidance of Narayan Maharaj, who used the term Ritvik in his highly offensive book on Srila Prabhupada called Shiksha Guru Priya Bandhu, which is in itself an aparad, as Krishna states, that now that I am Guru, it is the time for friendly talks to cease. Narayan, who is essentially a Sahajiya, wanted to have a Shiksha Guru who was also his best friend. That is clearly Vaishnav Aparad. Srila Prabhupada was quite aware that his murderer had no interest whatsoever in becoming an officiating Acharya, initiating on behalf of him, Srila Prabhupada, a process which had gone on for at least 7 years. Srila Prabhupada knew quite well that the 11 GBC members who aspired to become regular gurus would do so in any event the minute their murderous poison had sent him into samadhi. So he completely tricked those who clearly knew would be the 11 future regular gurus by sending them to the easily fooled Sridhar Maharaj, who had already disgraced himself 1,000% by having appointed Ananta Vasudev to be the successor Acharya to the Gaudiya Math, which ended in Ananta's wife murdering their own son. Then she committed suicide, and then the drug-addicted Ananta himself committed suicide as a result of his wife and son meeting such horrible deaths. So who other than Sridhar would be more foolishly appropriate for the murderers of Srila Prabhupada, most of whom were not even following the four regulative principles, to set them up to be regular gurus? Obviously, Sridhar did not have the slightest idea that the 11 had just succeeded in murdering Srila Prabhupada with poison. So Srila Prabhupada's genius was to choose to recommend a spiritually blind idiot to set up 11 spiritually blind idiots to become regular gurus. My obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. By tricking the 11 to become regular gurus, Srila Prabhupada was able to keep his ISKCON movement from becoming divided into 11 separate bogus ISKCON segments. The 11 GBC had already divided the world into 11 separate GBC zones, and even when they became regular gurus, they voted themselves to be 11 separate zonal acharyas, but they could not escape the established fact that Srila Prabhupada made them all equally successor gurus so that they would have to work together with the GBC rather than splitting off into separate zones. Even when they tried, the GBC held them back. Ramachandra, can you take over?
Is he there? Well, I could take over.
I'll read it, Prabhu.
Okay. Who can take over?
Mat,
You want me to
Prabhu,
read?
if you want to go ahead, go ahead. No issue.
Who?
You wanted to read, Prabhu?
I don't want to read. I thought Ramachandra would read, but I can read because we can't find Ramachandra.
Okay,
I'll continue. I'll continue. If
Okay.
anybody wants to read, they can just tell me and I'll look them in. So the July 9th letter was designed by Srila Prabhupada to create 11 bogus gurus, knowing well that they would be exposed as bogus rascals over the course of time. If anyone had wanted to continue the Sampradaya according to the clearly expressed desire of Srila Prabhupada, they would not have allowed Tamal to introduce the spiky, painful term Ritvik, and they would have insisted on using Srila Prabhupada's smooth and mellifluous term, officiating acharyas, which was what the exact opposite of what Tamal wanted to see happen. So simply put, The idiots who followed Tamal's letter, of which he clearly is the author, pounced on the term Ritvik, not realizing that they were clearly placing Tamal's choice of terms on a higher platform than those chosen by Srila Prabhupada himself. That means that those who choose the term Ritvik consider Tamal's words to be superior to those of Srila Prabhupada. Why would any Prabhupada disciple insist on using Tamal's forced use of the obscure term Ritvik over Srila Prabhupada's clearly expressed preferred phrase, officiating Acharya? What sort of initiated disciple would reject Srila Prabhupada's specific choice of language in the matter of how he, Srila Prabhupada, was to initiate his new disciples? Note, the term Ritvik. These terms only occurred in the Sanskrit texts and were never used in any of Srila Prabhupada's translations and purports. This means that the use of the term Ritvik came from the Sahaja brain of Narayan Maharaj and not even once from Srila Prabhupada. Tamal did not get Ritvik from Srila Prabhupada's esoteric Sanskrit source material, which Tamal was far too busy wallowing in politics to have read and studied in order to find an esoteric word like Ritvik. There is much more. I can easily deconstruct the entire July 9th letter as complete hogwash, that the process of continuing initiations was already in place. Srila Prabhupada already said so on May 28th and July 9th. My dear but naive friend, Krishna Kant, got carried away by needlessly pouncing on the term Ritvik, not realizing that Srila Prabhupada had simply allowed it to be used to royally trick Tamal. Note, 2 of my children and I wrote essays for Krishna Kant's 1996 edition of Bhakti Prabhupada magazine, and I paid for the printing of it. So it is not surprising that I bought into his idea that Ritvik was the right choice of words. Deeper scholarship forced me to realize that the divisive term Ritvik had no place in post-Prabhupada initiations, and that the harsh divisiveness of being a Ritvik would never have raised its ugly head, had we simply stated, I was initiated as a disciple of Srila Prabhupada by an officiating Acharya of Srila Prabhupada. Continue. We can easily observe that Tamal did not get the term Ritvik from Srila Prabhupada. And we can hardly imagine that he got it from the esoteric Sanskrit texts of Srila Prabhupada's books. It is easy to connect the dots to the fact that Ritvik was one of Narayan Maharaj's favorite words. Now that over 43 years have passed, it's time for us to calmly, soberly, and intelligently sort the matter out and realize that for 43 years, we have been needlessly following Tamal when we could have and should have been following Srila Prabhupada. Do you understand this to be true? Okay, that's the end of it. So now we can open for discussion. Now we could go back to the top and go down and you can argue the points as we have them. Or we can argue the points openly now. What you would like to do? Normally we go back to the top and read a shloka and then read a line and then people argue it. So Mohit, Rupa Manjari Prabhu, how would you like to do it? Hello? Mohit, are you there?
Yes, Haribol.
Were you there all the time?
Yeah. I was there. I was listening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would you like to do it? Do you want to go through the lines and argue them? Or what do you want to do with this so that people get a clear understanding?
Go ahead with specific paragraphs, right? So we can read paragraphs and then we can discuss, right?
Okay. And like here, we start out with 2-line paragraphs, so we should go down a few paragraphs, a few of those, right?
Yeah. So, Prabhu, I'll read and
Okay,
then we can
I
discuss.
want anyone who has weaponry to bring out their sword, sharpen it carefully, and come in for the kill. Because this is a major, major point amongst Prabhupada Nugas, meaning people that claim to be disciples of, or followers of Prabhupada. I want to know, why do they want to use Tamal's term Ripik? Isn't that a simple question, a simple notion? Why would we choose a word that Prabhupada didn't use and then make it world famous and make ourselves disgraced in front of all of our God brothers by making, oh, Ripik this, Ripik that, instead of saying officiating acharya? Do you get it? Okay, do you like that distinction? Okay, so I guess I should read, unless you want to. Would you want to read?
I'll read it. I'll read it from the start. No matter of what this, none of this matters. Even if the perfect in the original, the May 28 recording could not be used in any legal context, as it is forensic courtroom admissible recording. The take home that Srila Prabhupada
Okay, wait.
chose. Yeah.
Shouldn't we discuss that point? Do we understand what a forensic courtroom admissible recording is?
Yeah, bro. I understand it's not. I mean, it was malpracticed by. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to use a recording in the courtroom, there has to have the courtroom recorder recording what was said with a machine. They typed in what was said. Nothing was there. This was just a personal, sad conversation in a room on May 28th, and with a bunch of eager beaver people wanting to become guru. Okay? They wanted to become guru, and they couldn't come out and say it to Srila Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada, when you kick the bucket, how do we become guru? That's what they wanted to say using American style language. Or they could have thought, oh, Srila Prabhupada, when you are no longer with us and have returned to Krishna's abode, what should we do to continue your movement in the mood that you have created? They could have said that, but they didn't. They were very, very bold, aggressive, and businesslike, which has nothing to do with devotional service and has nothing to do with worshiping your spiritual master. Does that make sense?
Haribol. Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah.
So if you know the May 28th date at all, so you'll know that that's what was there. It was like a business meeting. So Prabhupada, when you're no longer with us, how do you want the initiations to continue? I mean, that's not how you talk to a spiritual master, is it?
Not at all, bro. Yeah.
It's completely offensive. Without doubt, it's completely offensive. So Srila Prabhupada responded mildly, I will appoint some of you to be officiating acharya. Prabhupada, Tamal pops up immediately and said, oh, do you mean Ripik? That's what he wants.
And Prabhupada said, Ridvik, yes.
He said yes. He didn't say use the term Ridvik. Tamal asked, does it mean the same thing as Ridvik? Does Ridvik mean the same thing as officiating acharya? And Prabhupada said yes. But in that context, would you choose Tamal's choice? Or would you choose Prabhupada's choice of words? I mean, just if they said your grandmother, would you choose your grandmother's choice of words or somebody else's choice of words who brought in an unrelated word that nobody really had ever dealt with before? What would you say, Rupa, if it was your grandmother?
I would choose what my grandmother said.
Yeah, so would I. So would anybody who loved the grandmother. If you don't love your grandmother, you might jump at this choice that can give them a weapon to stab Prabhupada with. You could do that, of course. So where are we? Are we on the May 28th recording? Oh yeah, because it's not forensic courtroom admissible recording. We've discussed that. I didn't prove it in the conversation, but I will tell you that I was, Rupa Manjari knows that I wish you had been part of it too, actually, Rupa. I didn't realize how extensive it was going to be, but they deposed me for how many hours? 7 hours, Rupa?
Yeah.
Or longer, 2 days? I forget what it was. Huge time. They deposed me, but they did not bring up the May 28th letter. You might say, well, that's the right thing to bring up, isn't it? They did not bring it up because they were lawyers.
May
And they
28th.
knew.
May 28th was not a letter, it was a conversation.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Well, they didn't bring up that conversation. Recording. It was a recording. The reason they didn't bring it up is because they knew it could not be admitted in the court of law. The whole conversation could not. This is something that the Ritviks, so-called Ritviks, are drooling over, is that May 28th letter proved what Prabhupada wanted. But the people representing the BBT in the court case did not feel that they could use it. Okay? And we have the transcript. We have the transcript and the rather bad transcript. That was a forensic recording. There was a video camera. Every minute word I spoke was recorded on a video. And there was a court reporter trying to do her best typing out all these Sanskrit terms that came up it came with some pretty laughable results. It was never properly edited afterwards. And they never used it. They thought that by deposing me, that they would be able to defeat all of the Ritvik positions. But instead, I maintained that Prabhupada was not defeated by anything that Tamal said in any of these things. They could not prove it. So they basically never used the deposition in court, which they had hoped would be a first class defeating the Narayan monster in a deposition. That will completely win us the case. It didn't work that way. Okay, now that we're back at the top, we just got through the first paragraph, little tiny paragraph. Okay, and we say the take home is that Srila Prabhupada chose the term officiating acharya, not Tamal's insistence on dragging in the term Ritvik, which he learned from Narayan Maharaj. Now the argument could be that he didn't learn it from Narayan Maharaj. But I would like to challenge anyone to determine where did he get? Okay, he didn't learn it from Narayan Maharaj, which was an easy way to get it, considering Narayan Maharaj constantly was using the term Ritvik. So if he didn't get it from Narayan Maharaj, where did he get it? So that's a question mark for the GBC and for anybody who's dealing with this. And it's a question for the people who call themselves Ritviks. Where did he get the term Ritvik? He has to explain. He didn't get it from Prabhupada, that we know. Did he get it from Prabhupada's writing? Not really, because Prabhupada's writing didn't include the word Ritvik. In fact, most of it was Ritvik Jaha, not Ritvik. So Tamal is so stupid, he wouldn't have known the difference between Ritvik and Ritvik Jaha, so he says Ritvik. I mean, it's very complicated in the Sanskrit text. And Prabhupada, Ramachandra and I went through a whole bunch of these Sanskrit texts, and we could not find a single instance where Prabhupada's Gita, we went through the Bhagavad Gita's usage, where Prabhupada's Gita used the word Ritvik once. Never in his writing did he use the word Ritvik. So that should establish we're trying to pin the word Ritvik onto Tamal, and we're trying to pin Tamal onto Narayan Maharaj, which is pretty easy to do, considering that Tamal wanted Narayan Maharaj to become at one point, to become the successor Acharya to Prabhupada on ISKCON over all the other gurus. That was later. But at the beginning, he just wanted to become named as the chief acharya of ISKCON with Narayan backing him up. So I write, I'm not a disciple of either Tamal or Narayan Maharaj. I choose to use officiating acharya, a term used by Srila Prabhupada from around 1970 instead of Tamal's term Ritvik. That's my choice. And I ask everyone on this Zoom call, is that a bad choice? Mohit, did you say bad choice?
Not at all, bro.
Good choice, right?
Of course, good choice. Best choice, bro. Because, I mean, the lectures which I've taken of yours, wherever you're talking, Ritvik
Yeah.
was never used, right? Ritvik was introduced by Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and it's clearly stated that they wanted to become gurus, and the guru issue is simply clear wherever you go. So it's just
Exactly.
clear.
That's nice.
But people
So
just
could
accept
you
it.
continue reading?
Sure. Sure, Haribol. Yeah. The take home is that Srila Prabhupada chose the term officiating acharya, not Tamal's instance of dragging in the term of Ritvik, which he learned from Narayan Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada never uses the term Ritvik even once in any of his translations or purports. Tamal made fool of all of us Tamal made fool of us all by insisting on May 28th as well as July 9th in using the term Ritvik instead of Srila Prabhupada's term officiating Acharya. You want to discuss on this, Prabhu?
You can discuss.
Bro, it's clear. It's clear. If someone wants to discuss, they are free to come. Yeah. Vinayak, Prabhu? Haribol?
Yes, it's perfect. Nice.
Vinayak, Prabhu? Haribol?
Okay. What's the next? Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, bro, I can hear you. So I'm reading further.
Okay, good.
Srila Prabhupada tricked Tamal by arranging for Tamal to be the author of July 9th letter. Tamal signed at the bottom center where the author legally signs, and Srila Prabhupada signed on the left hand margin which is where the witness signs. Ask your lawyer for the proof. As I am not the disciple of either Tamal or Narayan Maharaj, I choose to use officiating Acharya, a term used by Srila Prabhupada from around 1970, instead of Tamal's term of Ritvik.
Oh. So is that self-explanatory, or do you want to say something about it?
It's self-explanatory, Prabhu. You've explained this several times, I guess. Whoso is in the call, they know what's going on and what's the truth. Yeah. So no.
Okay, so why not go down to this answer to Rukmanga Das? He writes,
Yeah, go down. So there's a devotee called Rukunanda Das. He writes regarding the third usage mentioned above in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada defines Ritvik as the priest recommends by the spiritual master. The word used by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada is precisely Ritvijha, used in multiple translations and purports. TKJ used Ritvik, Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj used Ritvik, but it means Ritvijha as defined, used by Prabhupada. Yeah.
okay, but he doesn't explain why he should choose that over Prabhupada's use of officiating Acharya.
Exactly.
I mean, what's the use? Supposing you can prove that Prabhupada used the word Ritvik or Ritvijha 100 times in the text of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which I do not imagine that he did. Supposing you could prove that, what difference does it make? Why should we use that term instead of Prabhupada's term of officiating Acharya? I mean, it's like coming with something from somewhere else that has no relevance to the current situation. Right?
Yes, I will. Yeah.
So do you want to keep on reading here in the next section?
I'll read it too. So then a reply by Prabhu. The term Ritvik or Ritvija is not used by Prabhupada in any of his translations or purports. Ritvik, Ritvija, and many other variations are found in Sanskrit text of Srimad Bhagavatam and other source books.
Now, I
No,
could
no,
mention here, I
yeah,
could be wrong. I'm making this statement for somebody to challenge. Who can
yeah,
challenge it? Maybe this guy Rukmangadas could challenge it. But I'm
let's
making a
call him for
statement
a,
and
yeah,
I'm willing to be proven wrong. But I'm not
let's call him
willing
for a
to give
meeting,
up
bro.
the purpose of what I'm using the words for. What?
He can join our meeting, bro, and we can discuss it one to one, right? You can discuss it with
That would
him.
be
You
wonderful.
can come. Haribo.
Yes.
Yeah, bro. I'll
Keep
find this
on,
guy.
Rupa.
Rukmangada is a follower of Narayan Maharaj.
So
Oh, he is?
I'll find his Facebook ID or I'll find his contact number. I'll contact him and send him the link, or I'll tell him that you can join us and then we can talk. Yeah.
Well, he's not a disciple of Prabhupada, unfortunately. Do you think we should still
Acha.
do that? He's a disciple of Narayan Maharaj.
Acha.
So I guess
ठीक है,
in
bro.
that statement, he's trying to prove that his guru, Narayan Maharaj, was okay for making recommendations to, how did you know, Rupa, that he's a disciple of Narayan Maharaj?
I know him, he's my friend.
Oh. So
But
what can
Prabhu-
we do? What can we?
He lives in Badger.
Oh, really? That's really Narayan Maharaj territory.
But
So-
Prabhu,
so-
I have a doubt here, bro. I mean, why are people referring to Narayan Maharaj? I mean, he's a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and he's Gaudiya Math's god brother, Prabhupada's god brother. Why are people
not.
going towards
He's
Narayan
not
Maharaj
Prabhupada's
asking him?
godbrother. Prabhu, please. Prabhupada is the godbrother of Narayan Maharaj's spiritual master.
Acha.
In other words, there
Okay.
was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, then there's Keshava Maharaj, there's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and there's Srila Prabhupada. They are godbrothers. Narayan Maharaj acts like he's equal or superior to Prabhupada, but he's actually the nephew, the god nephew of Prabhupada.
Got it,
Not
Prabhu.
god brother at all.
But I can't understand, Prabhu, why people, I mean, after Prabhupada dying, why people went to him rather than than going to the official one which Prabhupada has written. The main issue.
Because they were treated so horribly. All the artists were told to leave, not even a gold watch. After putting in from 1990 to 1984, they spent 12 hours a day, 6 days a week painting these Krishna conscious paintings. Then they decided no more artists. They got rid of them, said goodbye. They never even offered them a job. They never offered them an apartment. They didn't offer them anything. These GBC are demons. You see?
That's okay, bro. After your
Okay, but
Acharya
let
died.
me answer your question very directly.
Hmm.
There was a wonderful, loving, kind devotee that I knew even before she joined the Krishna movement. There were a bunch of people that came in from a place called, Rupa, what was it called? That place up in near Graydon?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
Iteshwari.
Something, it was with that musician, the classical musician who was with the,
Yeah. Go ahead.
anyway,
Bro.
it was a hippie compound. I'm trying to remember, I'll remember shortly, I guess. It was a hippie compound, and this devotee had been living there. She and a whole bunch of devotees, of members of that community, came down and joined Prabhupada in one swoop, like 25 of them. It was just sort of amazing. And they came down.
Vrindavan
she spent-
Vilasini.
Vrindavan Vilasini was the name of the girl, yes. Very nice girl. Oh, what was the name of the commune, Rupa?
I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I know too. Well, remember. Okay. So anyhow, she came down and began distributing Prabhupada's books. She would go out with bags of heavy books, 6 days a week or even 7 days a week, selling Prabhupada's books in airports, etc., etc. She brought in thousands and thousands of dollars from book sales. She was under the tutelage of, yes, Jai. She was under the tutelage of Jadharani, who also did that sort of thing.
Hari, 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 Hari bol. That's what
Yeah.
Vinayak Prabhu was also saying it to me last year, that Prabhu book distribution plays magic in your life, in your spiritual life, right?
Yeah, well, yes, but I mean, they were exploiting these women, not honoring them. So they honored them as long as they could sell. She became so physically disabled after doing this for like 10 years. Her body was practically crippled. They kicked her out. If you can't distribute books anymore, we're not interested in you. Isn't that pretty cold-hearted?
It's despicable.
Yeah, what do you think, Mohit Prabhu? Is that the way to treat somebody who has performed that much level of devotional service for Prabhupada?
So it's exactly the politics which happens, right? So,
Okay.
I mean, those who they follow, they
Not
follow
good,
them, and
Prabhu.
not at all good, but
Well,
yeah.
I'm trying to give you the story in tender terms because I knew her I wasn't romantic with her, but tenderly I knew her because she was a wonderful woman who was distributing Prabhupada's books, thousands of them, original books, I may add.
So it's
And
the
she
hard
came to
truth
me,
people
she
need to
came
learn,
to
yeah.
me with tears in her eyes and said, Narayan Prabhu, I cannot do this unless you, this was very early in the Narayan Maharaj thing. I cannot do this unless you give me your heartfelt permission, she said to me.
Your heartfelt?
Narayan, yes, I am here in ISKCON. I have nowhere to live. I maybe have to live on the street. I have no house. I have no place to get food. After all these years, I became disabled. And I can't do anything anymore. I can't distribute books. And she said, Narayan Maharaj has offered me a room where I can stay with other Maharajas.
Sure.
I don't want to go there because I disagree with Narayan Maharaj. But I don't know what I can do. Please tell me what you tell me, whatever you tell me to do, she said to me at that time, which was early in the stage of this whole disintegration of ISKCON. I said, you tell me what I must do. Can you imagine putting that onto me? And I looked at her. I saw the look in her eye. And I've seen so many women in distress in my lifetime and read about them and everything like that.
There are several other stories too, which I have also heard. I've met such people also. So
Really? Well, let me finish this one and then tell your story.
no,
So
bro,
I
I'll not
said
tell
to-
my
I
story.
said to her,
We've only got 3 minutes left, you guys.
okay, well, we may have to go a little over if you don't mind. I said, I cannot say don't go there. You need to be preserved and protected. If they are protecting you at Narayan Maharaj's place, you must go where you're protected. I cannot say go live on the street. So please go. It wasn't as bad as it was got to be. I might have not recommended, but at that time I did recommend. I said, it breaks my heart to say this, but yes, please go and stay. You have my blessing. So she looked completely relieved and she went there. I don't know how much she became a follower of Narayan Raj, but Narayan Raj definitely was trying to speak and preach against Srila Prabhupada. Anyhow, that was my solution to that terrible problem. Okay? Which is what you asked.
Okay, we got 2 minutes to go.
Okay, we may have to go over a little bit.
Well, if you're planning to go over, I'm handing the host off to somebody else.
Okay, you can do that. So Mike, hand it off to Mohit. Why not? But anyhow, can we have this? So what are your stories, Mohit? Mohit Prabhu?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, bro.
what are your stories? Hello?
Okay, Prabhu, I'm back. So, where is Mohit Prabhu? Mohit Prabhu's here. No, Mohit Prabhu's out.
Okay,
You'll have
so
to join.
did you solve your housing situation?
Yeah, everything's solved.
Is it
Okay. So
Did you
yeah,
get
so
through it?
I was listening to the story of what's her name?
Vrindavan Vilasini.
Yeah, and this last part where Narayan Prabhu was describing Jadurani Prabhu, how she collected, and then she went to Narayan Maharaj.
She had nowhere else to go. So Mohit was asking, why did people come to
Sorry, I have
Narayan
no
Maharaj
internet issue.
from
Yeah.
ISKCON? And I'm saying Narayan provided them an opportunity to live and let live.
Yes, bro. Exactly. Yeah.
And the ISKCON, it's not that Prabhupada did not, it's not that Prabhupada Nugas did not, it was that they had no choice.
Exactly,
Right.
bro. So there's one Mataji which I also met online, and then she revealed me everything what happened with her. Like
Okay,
she
go
was,
ahead, tell your story.
so her name is Priya Peterson, and she married. She was married to a ISKCON person, and then she found it out that he was sleeping with other women, and then finally she felt that Narayan Maharaj's Gaudiya is much better. She went there. I don't want to go into details, but yeah, there are various devotees like this which go away from ISKCON, but their heart is ISKCON because they're born brought up there. But yeah, they leave ISKCON because of such things happening, right? Yeah.
And Rupa,
So-
are you still there?
No, she's not there. So her
She's not?
husband was, so her husband was, I mean, helped by ISKCON people, and they were helping him. He's still there in the temple, and no one says anything, right? After he being caught. Yeah. So for such women, those are into ISKCON, and for them, believing in marriage is very tough, right? So how can someone believe in marriage after such a drastic change happening to them, right? So she has her own children. She brings her childrens in the temple, just visits them, and just she's in.
It's
Gaudiya
not that they
Mata.
prefer Narayan Maharaj, is that he is, for all
Only
his
option
flaws,
left. Yeah,
providing them with a shelter to live in, which
exactly.
is exactly why he has followers. He's taken on criminals also, people that ISKCON cannot tolerate in the middle,
Acha.
cannot tolerate. But he's brought them
Acha.
all in there. I was asking Rupa Majori, but she left. But when Rupa Majori was in Vrindavan, she had a choice to go to the ISKCON temple for prasad or to the Narayan Maharaj place for prasad. And the ISKCON place for prasad was gruesomely bad prasadam, really garbage. And when she went to the Narayan Maharaj, it was run by very nice people that were having a nice time. You know?
Yeah, in India, when I was in Mayapur, I think I went to this Narayan Maharaj's place. They invited us, so we went there, and they treated us very nicely. So
That's much better. I mean, the food which they're saying, Prabhu, that's
Okay,
much.
so
much
if you take
yeah.
serve somebody's body and they have no other shelter, they will come to you. Duh, right? Is that obvious?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
So that is, Prabhupada provided that only as a means of getting started in Krishna consciousness, not to make a culture out of giving, comfy place to stay and comfy lifestyle and comfy chit chat without
So now,
any
bro,
great siddhanta at all.
so bro, if you want to live in ISKCON also, right? You have to live outside, right? It's not allowed, no? So whatever devotees I've met here in ISKCON Vrindavan, they are living outside, right? No one is living inside temple. Everyone has their
Who?
place outside, right? And then they come
Who?
for seva.
Well, the ISKCON devotees
ISKCON
can live in the
Vrindavan, bro.
ISKCON temple, but the Ryan people
Not
have their
allowed,
own
bro.
place. And they may be defective in philosophy, books, and everything, but they treat each other nicely.
Acha. But I think, bro, it's the other way around now. Because whatever devotees I've met in ISKCON Vrindavan, they're saying that people live outside. Sannyasis, all the big levels, they live outside only. They have their places outside and they live outside. Very rare people live inside the temple.
Well, that is another symptom. We're trying to solve the real problem, which is to all of this talk about what we've been discussing. All of that is designed to, it's all designed to create, it's all designed to create a sense that something very big has gone wrong, and now it's time to fix it.
Exactly. Sorry.
We have some comments online from our devotees online, so I want to read it off before we
Please do.
and then
I
comment.
also read it, bro. Some comments are very funny. Hari people are like,
We can continue this tomorrow also and just go over the rest of the thing bit by bit. And
Okay.
because this is the big decisive thing for the so-called Ritvik continuation of ISKCON. It's not. Ritvik is not a continuation of ISKCON. If you look at Paranjan, Yasoda, and all those people, they're trying to get people away from ISKCON, not to recreate ISKCON with Prabhupada in the center.
Yeah.
So they're doing the same thing as Narayan Maharaj, except
exactly.
more stupidly.
Yeah, Ritvik is not a movement, Ritvik simply means that you've been, it's just an officiated ceremony under the direction of Srila Prabhupada. It's not a
The
movement.
people that are doing Ritvik ceremony expect that their initiates become like their disciples.
Yeah, so
I
that's
guess you've
wrong.
given a clear distinction here, Prabhu, right? That Ritvik is not the way to follow Prabhupada, right? Ritvik is not the way which would get you Krishna, right? That's for sure.
Right.
So yeah, just clear it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's read the comments here. Arishto Prabhu says, Hare Krishna. Bhanu Prabhu online, our Bhanu Prabhu in India says Hare Krishna. And then Bhanu Prabhu also comments, Ritvik, not coined by someone. It is a Sanskrit word, so nothing wrong in being used as a means of communication. Then Bhanu Prabhu says, as we have seen the word Ritvik in the Sanskrit text of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Bhanu Prabhu further says, if Ritvik word is there in Sanskrit verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then it is written and used by Srila Vyasadeva. Then Bhanu Prabhu further says, LOL, laughing out loud, crying over the synonyms of the word to use. Ritvik or officiating Acharya, exclamation mark. And then Bhanu Prabhu says, message of Krishna is to chant Hare Krishna mantra, not to engage in ISKCON history politics. And Rob Prabhu asks, by engaging, what do you mean? Bhanu Prabhu says, is that important Is that important? What language Srila Prabhupada used, and use the exact duplicate like it. Tamal emulated Srila Prabhupada. Isn't Srila Prabhupada's instructions more important? Is someone going to read comments? Rob Prabhu, I mean indulge in ISKCON history politics. And then Rob says, okay, thanks for the clarification. So Bhanu Prabhu is making some points here that the Sanskrit word Ritvik is used by Srila Vyasadeva, and it's used in the synonyms, Sanskrit text.
Okay, but who is the spiritual master?
Oh, the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada.
And why use a term that he doesn't use? In fact, why use a term that he does not acknowledge at all?
Well, Bhanu Prabhu was saying,
why turn the phrase around when you could simply use the phrase that Prabhupada gave? Because he's spiritual master, we need to follow in the footsteps of the spiritual master, not create our own little bonfire called Ritvik.
Yeah, I don't think Bhanu Prabhu is disagreeing with the point.
No, he is disagreeing with the point.
Prabhu, he's disagreeing with our discussions too, right? He's saying, what's the point of discussing this matter? Just chant the holy names.
The point is the difference between Prabhupada and Tamal. Choose.
Exactly.
Which you want, Prabhupada, or do you want Tamal?
Prabhupada, I mean,
Bhanu accept Tamal more than Prabhupada.
Yeah, Bhanu Prabhu is saying, as we have seen the word Ritvik in the Sanskrit text of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Where?
It came up in a couple of instances. In the Sanskrit text, he's saying in the Sanskrit text of the Srimad Bhagavatam, not in the purport or translation.
We're dealing in the translation and the purport, not in the Sanskrit text. We know that the word Ritvik is used in the Sanskrit text. We're not doing our own translations of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Of course, yeah. And the point is, we are following Prabhupada, right? What Prabhupada has exactly written. We are telling that to people. That's simple. That's a simple answer to Bhanu Prabhu. Why are you confusing us with
not agree
and all?
With Mahit? Why does Bhanu not agree with you?
I don't know, Prabhu. Because he's like scared to talk about what's going on in the ISKCON, or he doesn't want to discuss it. It's his problem, Prabhu, because I've several times.
It's his problem, but I mean, we're raising a point which he is a Sanskrit scholar. He should be able to create the distinction between Prabhupada.
What's the point of being a Sanskrit scholar, Prabhu, when you can't follow Prabhupada, what he's written, right? Exactly the lines which Prabhupada has said, just follow it. It's the process. That's it.
Favorite disciples.
Acha.
Bhanu. I think he's Japanese.
No. Bhanu is
our Indian one, Prabhu. I also
Which
got.
Bhanu are we talking about?
Our Indian one, Prabhu.
Or your family Bhanu?
This Bhanu, your friend Bhanu from India.
India, yeah. Prabhupada said no one has ever says anything bad about the Bhanu. And
No,
Bhanu
not that Bhanu, the Indian Bhanu.
I thought I made
what Bhanu is how many Bhanus are we talking about?
We're talking about Bhanu, Indian Bhanu, Indian body
How many
Bhanu.
Bhanus? There's the Bhanu who's on the...
There's a Bhanu Prabhu in our WhatsApp chat. There's a Bhanu Prabhu in our WhatsApp link. He joins and he's from India. That guy, not the Prabhupada's favorite devotee, Prabhu. I'm very sorry.
Is that the Bhanu
I can't say anything.
With
I can't say anything.
Yeah, Shravan's nephew.
That's who we're talking about?
Yeah, this Bhanu.
Yes.
Oh, he's always against everything.
He's always against everything. He's always against everything.
I was waiting for this.
Okay.
Prabhu. I was waiting for this. I'm very sorry, Prabhu. I'm very humbly sorry if I've said anything wrong against the senior devotee of Prabhupada. I mean, I can't say it. I don't have any qualification. We are talking about the Indian Bhanu, Prabhu.
This is Indian Bhanu, Shravan's nephew, I think.
Well, I'm sure there are a million Indian Bhanus.
Yeah, but this Bhanu is okay. Bhanu Prabhu's Indian Bhanu is commenting. Is that important? What language Srila Prabhupada used, and used the exact duplicate, like duplicate it like Tamal emulated Srila Prabhupada.
Of course, it's
It's
very
not-
compulsory
nothing
what
is-
Prabhupada said.
Let's just put on the table to make the situation even. Nothing is important. Nothing anywhere is important. But if the pure devotee speaks, that takes on a quality that is different than the poisoner of this pure devotee speaks. Why do we accept the poisoner of the pure devotee over the pure devotee who's being poisoned?
So let's
Does it
take
make-
an example here. For example, if you know Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mohit Prabhu. Yes, listening. Go ahead.
So, for example, Prabhu, if you know that someone is like a supreme soul, Prabhupada has said it in his books, in his writings, that whatever I write, I read it thrice, again and again, because it's being
Right.
guided by Krishna, right? So, when Krishna is guiding Prabhupada, he's a pure devotee. So, whatever is written
Yeah.
by Prabhupada is exactly the lines how Krishna wants. How Krishna
Yeah.
wants to run
Well,
ISKCON.
what about when
Exactly.
Prabhupada speaks? Are you saying when Prabhupada speaks that is not true?
That is exactly true because he said it several times that Krishna is guiding me, right? So if
With
someone
his
is guided by
words.
Krishna,
So
how can you
in that
go against him?
conversation, Prabhupada is not just a small guy to get rid of out of the way. Srila Prabhupada is an acharya who's a friend of Krishna. He is the, what do they say? He is the,
in Ras with
He is-
Krishna. Yeah.
huh? Yeah.
He's in Rasa
he
with
is-
Krishna. Haribol.
Yes, so he is the source of our Krishna consciousness. Why do we accept the poisoner's choice of terms when Prabhupada, even he may have used the word Ritvik in some place in writing, why do we choose the poisoner over Prabhupada?
I don't know what's the issue with Bhanu Prabhu. He once texted me also,
Well, wouldn't
Prabhu.
we choose?
He's always
Never
against
mind-
what we say.
Never
right?
mind poison. Supposing Tamal's not poisoning Prabhupada. Would you choose the disciple's choice of words over
Not at all.
the spiritual master's choice of words?
Not at all. I mean, Prabhupada is such an exemplary example of a pure devotee that is himself saying it. He is himself saying it.
He is
He's
transparent
himself
via
saying it.
medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's himself
So
saying
how
it
can
that
we
I have
say-
not written these books. Yeah, bro. Exactly.
Can you see
Yeah.
what a horrible situation has occurred when the pure devotee speaks and they take some other word?
And Prabhu, when he's speaking it clearly, he's speaking it clearly. I have not written my books. Krishna has guided me. When he's speaking it clearly, then also people can't understand. What's the problem? I mean, Prabhupada is not claiming to write those books, right? Every author, every second person in this universe is like
Yeah.
behind what I've written. It's mine. It's
Yeah.
mine.
Well, to
But
use
Prabhupada is saying it
Western,
clearly. Yeah.
if you use
Yeah,
Western
Prabhu.
nomenclature, he's channeling Krishna. In other
Exactly.
words, he is the transparent via medium. Krishna is speaking through him.
I mean,
And then he
Prabhupada could have
then he
said it
writes.
directly, right? Prabhupada could have said it directly that I
what-
have written these books, right? It's the source
Yeah.
of knowledge for me. He could have said that, and people
He
could have
didn't need to.
believed it, but
But are you
he
using
didn't.
that to argue that Tamal should use the word Ritvik?
No, I'm not using. He could have done it, but because he's a pure devotee, he said it right. That I am being guided by Krishna. I read my books thrice.
No, I'm not
because-
saying the word Ritvik is useless. I'm saying it had nothing to do with the conversation.
Exactly.
Why would Tamal say Ritvik when Prabhupada said officiating acharyas? Prabhupada says officiating acharyas. Is that not channeled from Krishna?
It's of course channeled by Krishna, bro.
So if Krishna says officiating acharyas and says Ritvik somewhere else, but in this conversation he says officiating acharyas, who are we not to accept it?
Bro, I guess
mean,
it's all about
Are we
fame and
supposed to
money.
flip through a book and say, oh no, we should want to use the word Ritvik Prabhupada, that's also channeled by Krishna. So we want the word Ritvik. We don't want what you're saying. How dare the disciple refuse to obey the exact terms of the spiritual master?
So it's all about fame game. Everyone wants to become a guru, right? So it's all about that.
Well, that they
Let's
wanted
come
to
to the
become
guru.
gurus. Not everyone wants to become a guru. The only people that become gurus are people who don't want to become gurus. Because the only person who can become a guru is who can surrender to the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur without jealously saying, "Oh, Bhaktisiddhanta, wouldn't you rather use this word instead of that word to describe Mayapur?"
So it's impossible for a senior devotee like you can't change what he said. Your guru has said one thing, you have to accept it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever he said, he's been guided
Even
by
if he said something
Krishna.
else before, very authoritatively, at the moment that he speaks, you have to accept it.
Yeah, the meaning of guru is like that, right? If you find it anywhere on internet, find it in our Vedas, it's written. Guru's words are the final thing which you need to accept. If you can't
Yes.
accept, you're not a follower, you're not a devotee. You're not to be called a devotee because your brain is working. You're using your
Okay.
material brain for changes,
So is
right?
Tamal to be considered a devotee? Never mind, he's poisoning Prabhupada.
I don't know. This question I can't answer, bro. So
I thought from your definition just now, refusing to accept the spiritual master's word, is that what a devotee does?
not at all. But yeah, bro, I can't answer that question openly.
Why?
If someone wants to answer, they can answer it, but I can't because
Well, why can't you answer
maybe
it openly?
I can. Bro, I think I'm scared of offenses because the seva which is given to Prabhupada before
You're
him
afraid of an
following
offense
exact
against
words, so I don't
Tamal?
know.
You're afraid of creating
Sorry,
an
bro.
offense against Tamal?
No. I'm afraid of his service which he's done for so many years, right? And then things happen drastically went down. Before that, the service which is done, so Krishna is very close to his devotee, and I was
not
just
like this. I knew Tamal more than I knew my own brother. I knew
Exactly.
Tamal very, very closely, very, very closely, starting in 1968 and onward. Tamal actually, when we moved the temple, when we went into the temple in Los Angeles on Los Angeles Boulevard, Tamal was staggering into the temple in a very devotion mood, in a very agitated mood. He grabbed my arm and said to me, Narayan, Prabhupada said, I am surrounded by disciples that are like so many stars. He said, what I'm looking for is one moon. He looked at me with an inflamed look in his eye and said, Narayan, I am that moon. So from that point onward, he wanted to prove himself to be the genuine and only successor to Srila Prabhupada. Does that sound like something that Bhaktisiddhanta would approve of?
Not at all, bro. So you can't, there's nothing to prove for you in bhakti or in devotional service. Krishna already gives you that, and you've been accepted by people already automatically if you're pure at heart. There's nothing as proving
yeah, but
yourself.
Tamal was never pure at heart. I will tell you that frankly.
Oh.
He had only one thing in mind, and that was to become the next Acharya after Prabhupada, even back in 1968, 69. I hate to say it because I worked closely with Tamal. He and I planned big projects together. He and I did huge things together. We were very close, like very close friends. But when I stand back, I say there was never a point where he did not want to take the movement from Prabhupada for himself. Everything he did.
That's a big reveal, Prabhu.
Yeah.
That's a big point which you're making, yeah.
A big what?
This is a very big point which you're making, Prabhu. That
It's huge. But take into
Very
account that Prabhupada said there's a sinister movement within our society. He said that in 1969, I believe. What is that sinister movement? They all came and became GBC and refused to be elected against the spiritual master. How many good things are you going to say about a person that does that?
yes, bro. But yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How can we say very nice things? Oh, he did so much service. He gave nice classes. He played nice mridanga. He chanted Hare Krishna, but he refused
Haribo. Yeah.
to surrender to Srila Prabhupada.
I guess Vinayak Prabhu wants to say something. Haribo.
That would be nice.
Vinayak Prabhu. Haribo.
We're on a blood
Hare Krishna,
curdling
no
topic.
Prabhu. I don't want to say.
Why not? Why not? You can say.
He's been very quiet, so yeah, bro.
Vinayak would be nice. I mean, can you understand that the people who became the GBC and eventually murdered Prabhupada 7 years later, that their point was to take over ISKCON as their own political religious organization, and they wanted to minimize Prabhupada at every step of the way. And that's what's happened. If you go to an ISKCON temple, that's what it's like. It's all under the GBC control. And that's not what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted the GBC to be elected for 3-year terms. It could be
Exactly,
re-elected
bro.
also. Yeah. So the GBC is no longer willing to be re-elected. And all the ISKCON temples are currently incorporated in Bengal. All of them.
Acha.
Prabhupada wanted them to be individually incorporated.
Individually
wherever they
independent.
were.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Every temple should be
So-
independent and they should have their own financial freedom, right? Every president
Exactly.
has his own freedom, which Prabhupada wanted, right? Every temple has a separate
Exactly.
entity, not
So you
rather
have all
than.
these temples with independent
Yeah.
freedom, but they don't necessarily know what to do. Well, now you have an elected GBC that the temples elect. And the temples, more temples elect. It's not like 3 temples want guidance, so 3 temples elect GBC. That wouldn't work. No, they elect. They get a whole 30 people may vote for GBC. And those GBC will be 12, and they can then go to the individual temples and serve them, help them develop, help them become more successful, like that, not to control them. You see, that's
And you
what
can
we're
take
up
loans
against.
also. Because, yeah, bro. So Prabhupada
What?
always wanted people to take loans also, right? If you're creating a new temple, you can take loans and then repay back, and then I mean go ahead with independency, right? Every temple has its
Well, yes.
independency.
Well, if they're
Yeah.
independent, then they're independently responsible for their loan.
Exactly.
In other words,
bro.
if you go to the bank and say, I want to buy this house in Jaipur, say, if I want to buy this house in Jaipur, okay, what do you have collateral? What do you have to put up? Okay, you have enough. I will give you the money for the house. Now you pay it back by 500 rupees a month or 1,000 rupees a month or whatever, like that.
Yeah.
So you can do that. So you can do the same thing as a devotee with a temple, but not that you.
Exactly.
Now, if you have difficulty doing that, the GBC might be able to help you.
Exactly.
offering
This is what
some
Prabhupada wanted. Yeah.
Credit, yeah, of course it is. Practical credit rating. Maybe somebody with better credit rating can co-sign the loan.
Yes.
But when that loan is paid off, the temple belongs to the temple, not to the co-signer.
Exactly, bro. So now all the legal entities, all the new temples which come in the ISKCON worldwide are being registered in the name of GBC and their headquarters, which is in West Bengal. All of the properties belong to them. Nothing is independent. So that's the issue. That's why all the decisions come from there. No one has the inclusions to make their decisions. And then It's like a
Yeah,
corporate organization.
that's another topic, but it is part of the topic we're discussing tonight. July 9th letter.
Yeah. So now, Prabhu, any other comments online? Haribo?
No more. Oh yeah, there are some comments here. 1 second.
Just read them here.
Let me share the screen here. So Bhanu Prabhu is saying,
This is cousin Banu.
yeah.
Yes,
This is
Indian Bhanu. Indian Bhanu.
Indian
Prabhu.
Bhanu. Indian Bhanu is
Indian
saying
Banu?
here,
No, anybody in India is Indian.
Shravan's Bhanu. Let's put it Shravan's Bhanu. Do you like that better?
Yeah, Shravan's Banu.
Yes.
Shravan's cousin Banu.
Shravan's cousin. No, it's not Shravan's cousin. It's Shravan's
Nephew.
father. Shravan's brother's son, Bhanu.
So it's nephew.
Nephew, yeah. So Bhanu Prabhu is saying, so Bhanu was complaining about, what was he complaining? Bhanu Prabhu says, stop nonsense sheep followers in Ishtagosti. Then do your own thing off Zoom. So then I told Bhanu Prabhu, can you come on Zoom and express your complaints and sign off?
Excellent.
I will mute them. And Bhanu Prabhu says, I want to interact from here. Then Bhanu Prabhu says,
He's calling us a sheep, Prabhu. Haribo. He's calling us a sheep and he's believing the sheep which he's following, right? The flock he's following, that's great. That's against Prabhupada and that's great. That will take him go back to Godhead, right? That will take him back to Godhead, right?
It looks like
This is what he wanted
Banu
to
either hasn't or is incapable of thinking things through.
Then Bhanu says, I want to interact from here. I invited Bhanu Prabhu. Why don't you come and express yourself here?
Please
Bhanu
come
said-
in. Please come in. Yeah.
Then he says,
Sorry. Yeah.
so why don't you guys chant 16 rounds by the most important and prime instruction of Srila Prabhupada? Yeah, yes, to all what Narayan Prabhu says. Or hell, give lecture for 2 hours. I said, Hare Krishna. And then Rob Prabhu says, so you guys don't chant?
Of course we chant. I chant
Of course
16
we
rounds.
chant. Who won't chant 16 rounds, Prabhu, and then preach, right? That's the main basic point. We follow that. Except you can't get any knowledge through Prabhupada except if you're not chanting. That's the basic thing which we do. If you want to sit with us and chant, we can sit with him and chant for 2 hours and then talk to him, right?
Well,
That's the way he wants.
The problem with Banu is he doesn't want to chant 16 rounds. He wants to chant 60.
Exactly.
He wants to chant 64 rounds.
Okay. So we read Banu's comments. So if Banu is watching, Banu, we read all your comments. Oh, then Banu Prabhu's saying, you people never mention of chanting 16 rounds. That shows.
No,
So
he should say chanting 16 rounds is what is required to take part in the meeting.
Haribo. The basic requirement. Haribo.
Yeah. If you chant 64 rounds, you can't come to the meeting because it's too much.
Too much of knowledge, bro. Too much of
Yeah,
knowledge.
it's like,
Too much
I want a
gyan.
glass of water and you bring me a barrel, a gigantic barrel, and start tipping it in towards my mouth. That's too much.
I said,
A glass of water, that is very nice. I cannot have such a huge thirst for a barrel of water.
So let's,
But I can have
so
thirst
let's
for a
contact him,
glass
right?
of water. A nice, delicate,
in the next
crystal
meeting-
glass.
sorry, bro.
Go ahead.
Let's in the next meeting bring him, Prabhu, online and just relish his transcendental pastimes, right? Which he has. Because he's chanting
Yeah.
64 rounds and he knows everything, right? So let's bring him up. Let's talk to him, right? We need his association.
We're right. That's just a ghosty. We don't care. We're not
Exactly.
looking just for people who Banu should understand. We're not looking people who agree with us. The only thing that we are saying that has not been expressed yet in this session is that we're looking for ISKCON to be Prabhupada-centered. Prabhupada will be the Acharya, and he will be the Acharya of ISKCON for the 10,000 years of the Golden Age of Kali. That means in 250 years, go to an ISKCON temple, Prabhupada in the center. Go there 500 years, to ISKCON temple, Prabhupada will be in the center. And then go there 5,000 years, that's half the Golden Age of Kali, Prabhupada will be in the center. Why is that important? Because no one else can give us pure, unalloyed Krishna consciousness, pure, unalloyed love of God by his sound vibration. And you can get his sound vibration from his recordings. Now you say, well, that's from recordings of a dead person. I would beg to differ. The recording that Prabhupada makes is not dead. It's not from a dead person. Thakur Bhaktivinoda puts it this way: he reasons ill who say Vaishnavas die when thou art living still and sound. Vaishnavas die to live, and living spread the holy life around. So what part of that says that a Vaishnava dies? Vaishnavas die to live. So Prabhupada's alive. Get used to it. The ISKCON gurus are not alive. Or if they are alive, they'll be dead in 50 years or 60 years. I mean, their being alive is so rickety. It is so difficult to even calculate. So we're not looking at a bunch of ISKCON gurus who are not Prabhupada. Why don't we go straight for Prabhupada through his recordings? If you listen to Prabhupada chanting, lecturing, playing mridanga, and seeing the videos of him dancing the whole sacred Swami step, why are people doing something else? Or there are people that come out with their brains hanging out of their ears who say, oh, there's no hard and fast rules for chanting. Yes, there is a hard and fast rule for chanting. Chant the way your spiritual master chants. That's the hard and fast rule for chanting. But it says, or Chaitanya says, there's no hard and fast rules for chanting. We say it every morning. And we say, yes, but it doesn't regard the way the spiritual master chants. The no hard and fast rules means you idiot monkey, derived from low-class birth, you can also, the no hard and fast rules means that monkeys and apes and pigs and dogs can chant if they can bring themselves to do it. It does not mean,
Let's do
chant your own melody. That was created by the GBC to destroy Srila Prabhupada.
Haribo.
So now it's time to do the opposite. Go into Prabhupada's sound vibration. He will be the Acharya for the next 10,000 years. And Thakur Bhaktivinoda said, and I'm going to repeat it, Ramachandra? Well, he's not there. Okay.
I'm here. Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, so we should find that passage by Thakur Bhaktivinoda. You may have it or not. It doesn't matter. I will try to repeat it. It's very simple in principle. And if Thakur Bhaktivinoda, if you can find it, that's really great. But Thakur Bhaktivinoda says, when you hear from the lips of a pure devotee, that is authentic hearing. When you speak the same words you've heard from the pure devotee, if you're not a pure devotee, it is not authentic. And the more levels going down that you speak, and he speaks, and he speaks, and he speaks, the less authentic it becomes. And the more you become all wrapped up, like people were so like in love with Vishnu John, and Vishnu John was so in love with himself that they didn't care for Prabhupada's chanting. They wanted to chant like Vishnu John. So it became a very emotional thing for people to chant just like Vishnu John. Why? Why not chant like Srila Prabhupada? They would say, well, people like the way Vishnu John chanted. Prabhupada liked the way Vishnu John chanted. But what about listening to how Prabhupada chanted? They want to have something fake. They want something fake to worship, a golden calf to worship. They want something that is not Prabhupada to worship. Why? Because we're mortal beings in material bodies. We're not ready to let go of our material bodies. When I asked Srila Prabhupada in London, oh, Srila Prabhupada, is it possible that I will ever become a pure devotee just like you? That's a pretty big question. Would you agree, Mohit? Isn't that a pretty big question?
Very big question, bro. So
Yes.
it's a very big question.
And I dared to say it in sitting on the floor, wishing I could die because I interrupted Prabhupada chanting Vachapa. And I said, Prabhupada, is it possible? I want to know. I'm dying to know. Is it possible that I could ever become a pure devotee just like you? And I sat there thinking, somebody should come in and kill me for having been so offensive and bold to ask the spiritual master such a significant question from my rotten, non-self-realized lips. That's why I saw it. And Prabhupada chanted, yeah, go ahead.
I guess the answer to your question is like pure devotees are like from direct being sent by Krishna, right? They're from a different lobe, not from here. So that's what a pure devotee is.
No. A pure devotee, you're a pure devotee, but you're not completely complete. You're not complete. If you pray the holy name of Krishna, Krishna's sound vibration is eating into your heart right now. Don't think it's something else. Don't think the devotees are all created in advance. Nobody is created in advance. Nobody.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to know what Prabhupada said?
Yes, exactly. I'm waiting for that. Yeah. I'm waiting for that.
I'm sitting there waiting for Krishna to come with a Sudarshan chakra and cut my head off, because I said, Prabhupada, is it ever possible that I could become a pure devotee just like you? Isn't it pretty cheeky? To give you an idea of how cheeky it is, supposing it wasn't me, supposing it was a pig who liked to hear Hare Krishna mantra, would hop up and down when the kirtan went on, and his ears would wiggle when the kirtan went on. And if that pig asked Prabhupada, is it possible I could become a pure devotee like you? What if the pig asked that question? Wouldn't that be considered to be a pretty horrible thing? But not to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada took Hare Krishna a few times back and forth. Hare Krishna, when he came to the wall, he said, Hare Krishna to the wall. Then he went up to Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna. He came to the other wall, back and forth of this small room in London. Seemed big, because small rooms in London seem big because all the rooms are small. And
what's the answer, bro?
And everybody's indoors. But anyhow, I'm sitting there waiting for the Sudarshan chakra to come and split me into several rotten pieces. And Prabhupada looked at me powerfully. He looked at me powerfully and said, "Why? This is for you. This is for you, Mohit. From your idea of what is a devotee." Prabhupada looked at me and said, "Why not?" He said, "You are in the process. Mohit, why not? You are in the process. I'm saying to you, you get it?
Yeah.
Well, don't cover it up with Haribol. Try to be thunderstruck. Try to be brutalized by saying it. Mohit, why not? Mohit, you are in the process." But then you know what he said to me? He chanted back and forth. I'm sitting there staring straight ahead, just like somebody's hit me with a car for the walk crossing the road in the nighttime, like a deer, flying. And then he went back and forth, and he looked at me slightly sardonically and said, "But it may take some time."
I got your point, bro, but this is...
Why not? You are in the process. Did you get it?
I'm in the process, but it's Prabhupada's blessings. Only Prabhupada's blessings would take me to that level, right, bro?
I've just given you
Prabhupada's very humble answer.
That doesn't matter. I just gave you the blessing he gave me. Can you accept it as Prabhupada blessing you? You've given
Of
got
course,
the
Prabhu,
blessing.
of
You
course
don't
I
have to
am.
go into the mechanics in your brain.
Hare-
Just accept it. You are
Accepted it, Prabhu. Yeah.
you accept it. If you are chanting, will you come to the point of being able to chant like Prabhupada? He said yes, but it may take some time.
Haribo.
So is
Jai.
that okay with you? Without adding and subtracting anything. The potency of the
Acha.
pure devotee is not something else other than the potency of the pure devotee. You don't have to have little cozy things like sheep lying all over the floor. No, it doesn't need that. There's nothing
Haribo.
nothing to disguise it. It is, what I'm telling you is, it is direct. Direct.
Yeah, Prabhu. There's
Prabhupada
one
to
lecture.
you, direct. What I've said to
Exactly.
you is Prabhupada to you, direct.
Hari Bol. Jai.
That's how
There's
direct
one
it is.
lecture.
A fallen
Yeah.
soul like me can give you the direct message was given by Prabhupada. He gave it to me. I just gave it to you.
Hari.
Now, can you understand that? You've been given it.
Yeah, Prabhu, I can understand it totally. It's given and I am accepting it, right?
Without any
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah in between. Right. Okay, I'll stop torturing you.
Nothing else. Yeah, of course.
I'm torturing you. If I'm not torturing you, then I'm not doing it right.
No, it's not torture.
When I was in
Not
that
at
room
all
with
torturing, Prabhu.
Prabhupada,
It's like
I was
direct mercy coming
tortured
from
in that
Prabhupada.
room. I was tortured in that room with Prabhupada.
Acha.
I wished I could crawl into the wall and become a little insect. I was so tortured.
Yeah, Prabhu.
That's the way.
That's
But he
the
was direct, you see.
humbleness.
Am I being direct with you? Direct with you. Nothing
Yeah,
in
Prabhu.
between.
Yeah,
So it's the
Prabhu. You're being
same.
direct and clear, right? Yeah.
Okay, direct and clear is what Prabhupada was with me. I've simply handed it to you. The same thing he did to me,
Yeah.
I have just handed to you. Isn't that gorgeous?
Great. That's superb, awesome.
Yeah.
The best day of
You can
life
turn
is
it,
today,
you
Prabhu.
can turn it into something else in your mind, but I don't recommend doing that.
I won't do
Particularly
it,
since
Prabhu. I
Prabhupada
just-
said, yes, why not? You are in the process. You are in the process, not some blah, 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 said the process. You are in the process. They looked at me and said, it may take some time. So I'm saying to you, Mohit, it may take some time.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Are you okay? I just gave you
Yeah,
Prabhupada. You can say, how can
Exactly.
Narayan give me Prabhupada? By not adding or subtracting to what he said. That's all I can give you.
Using the exact words as he said, right, Prabhu? Yeah.
And the exact mood, the exact energy, the exact
Yeah.
manner of speech. I'm talking to you the way he spoke to me. It's not a
Haribol,
quote, it's not a
yeah.
cute, it's not a cute little thing to tell around the dinner table. I'm giving you what he gave to me in the same way that he gave it to me. You see?
Exactly.
You know, try to accept it as that, and not that I'm trying to pretend that I'm Prabhupada or something.
No, Prabhu. I'm trying to accept what Prabhupada said, right? I'll
Yeah,
give my
that's right.
best and I'll,
Accept what Prabhupada said, not what I said. I'm
Yeah,
simply
bro.
channeling to you what Prabhupada said. So it's what
Haribol.
Prabhupada said, not what I said. Okay, so you're as blessed as a human being can be right now.
Jai.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
so
Prabhu.
now what's the next topic?
Next topic, I guess Ramachandra Prabhu is not there. We can just end the meeting. Ramachandra Prabhu is there. I am listening. Is Ramachandra Prabhu? Haribol?
Yeah, that's me. I'm listening. So
Hari Prabhu. You're also. I was saying.
so
Haribol. Ah.
we can end the
Ramachandra,
meeting.
You never, Mohit asked me to bless him like Prabhupada. You never asked me to bless you like Prabhupada.
But
Wouldn't
I'm
you like
already
that?
blessed. I said I'm already
Okay.
blessed.
You're already
Acha.
blessed. Jai Prabhu.
Already.
So what's going on?
Indirectly,
How-
when we are serving Nanarayan Prabhu, we are already blessed because he's telling the right truth, which
I'm
Prabhupada
telling
wanted,
the
right?
truth. I'm not.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
not blessed because of me,
Yeah.
because of my body. Do you want to know about my body? Pus, blood, stool, urine. How wonderful is that?
It's pretty
And
wonderful
my
if you
life,
ask me.
so many mistakes, making one after the other.
Bro, we are blessed
Don't
because
forget
of your
about that.
karmas, because
The
of your
only thing I
present
am
seva which
offering
you're doing
is
for
what I
Prabhupada.
was transparently offering you what Prabhupada transparently offered to me. So what happened to all the
We
people
are
who were
blessed
supposed
because
to
of the Prabhupada, bro.
Go ahead.
We are blessed
What do you
to
say?
the seva which you're doing to Prabhupada, which is the real seva which Prabhupada wanted. So through those
It appears
blessings, we
that
are
way,
getting
doesn't it?
those.
It appears like that. I
It's,
begin to realize I don't need to
it's
get into
the
a
exact
comfy
same,
chat with anybody in an ISKCON temple. I don't need to be put on a saffron robe and then be told, now you can give a lecture.
Yeah.
I can sit anywhere and scream what I scream, which is offensive to most people. But let it be offensive because it's true.
Hari, Hari,
So we
Hari bol.
need to,
Jai
we need to
Prabhupada.
cut through the GBC lies. They poisoned Prabhupada. Now they're profiting on the death of Prabhupada. What more can I say? They all want to fight all guru, this GBC, that GBC. What about this Maharaj Prabhu or that Maharaj Prabhu? I'm saying they all poisoned Prabhupada. If you didn't poison Prabhupada, then come over here and join us in saying we're going to listen to Prabhupada's recordings and chant like Prabhupada for the next 10,000 years. After having poisoned Prabhupada, isn't that what we owe him? You guys on the GBC, if you poison Prabhupada or your associates poison Prabhupada, and I'm saying you poison Prabhupada, and that cure is to worship Prabhupada for the next 1,000 years, isn't it worth it? Would you rather go to hell, which is your alternative? So all these guys, gurus, everything, do you know where they're headed? They're headed for hell. Because
Yeah,
no
bro,
matter what
that's
they're
the truth.
doing, what? Go ahead. You say?
Bro, that's the hard-hitting truth, right? You're saying it correctly. Like, whatever the condition would be, that whosoever is offending a pure devotee, his words, and then doing a business out of it,
Well,
it's like
isn't that
it's
sinful?
it's worse than hell, bro.
More than
It's
hell.
worse than hell, bro. You're offending Guru, right? It is rather than they should be outside and doing something else rather than being a disciple and then following it. So it's like knowing the truth
Exactly.
and then not following it.
So the
That's the
disciple
same
says,
aparat
oh,
which you'll get.
I'm going to exploit my guru. He's going to take my karma. I will go back to Godhead. How intelligent is that? And if the guru says, okay, I'll accept your karma, you can go back to Godhead when I take it. How genuine is that? It's totally bogus.
Yes, bro.
How can the guru accept his disciples? He can accept the disciple's karma, but what good will it do the disciple when the disciple has to follow his guru into his next sinful lifetime? Right? Does that make sense?
So it will go on and on. It will go on, and this cycle won't come at a stop.
On and
That's
on.
what.
And if you get into any
Yeah.
of these conversations, they're going on and on, on and on, on and on. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I think Prabhupada, I think about, I heard this quote, it was very nice, blah, 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 on and on, on and on. So where is the Siddhanta, the conclusion? Where is the step that needs to be taken? And I claim we need to put Prabhupada in the center of ISKCON. We need to separate the GBC outside of ISKCON. As far as I'm concerned, the GBC can continue doing what they're doing. They can preach all over the place. Their cracked up preaching actually will attract people to Krishna consciousness. It will improve the world if they tell people to chant Hare Krishna, even if they're bogus, but they originally got it somewhere from Prabhupada. Or they can all commit suicide, which would probably be more sensible. But in any event, what need not concern us. What we want is ISKCON with the elected GBC for renewable 3-year terms, independently incorporated temples, and Prabhupada in the center as the all-effulgent Acharya of ISKCON for the next 10,000 years.
Jai,
Now,
Jai,
why should-
Prabhupada.
why should-
Very, very
Yeah. Is there any need for us to compromise?
Not at all.
See, this whole complicated thing that we read tonight, and presumably we'll continue reading tomorrow night or analyzing, it's all because of a plot against Prabhupada. And the only reason I took the time to write it out was people are going on, a lot of ISKCON men, Bobby Hebert and Yasoda and Paranjan and others, they all say Ritvik, Ritvik, Ritvik. I'm trying to devalue the idea that Ritvik is an embarrassment for a devotee because it is a glorification of Tamal, not the esoteric scriptures that Prabhupada wrote that they are mentioning. Okay?
Yes,
Right.
bro.
So
Jai.
Mahiprabhu, what would you like to say? Or Ramachandra also, what would you guys like to say?
Well, Yashoda Nandana Prabhu, he uses the word officiating acharyas too. He doesn't use the word Ritvik. As far as I've talked to him, he used the word officiating acharya more than
Well,
several
that's good.
times.
That's good.
So
But unfortunately, he uses the initiation as a means of getting disciples for himself into his
okay,
temples,
yeah,
because he believes that Prabhupada's
Mhm.
temples, that Krishna is no longer in them, and that the
Okay.
deities are just marble.
okay.
They're not genuine deities. Which anyone
Mm.
who's been to an ISKCON temple can say that's wrong.
It's
They're genuine
impossible.
deities.
It's
Yeah.
impossible because Prabhupada has guided it through, and Prabhupada was there. He's done everything. Pran Pratishtha. It's impossible, right?
Well,
The
but
deities
Yasoda
are
and
there.
Paranjan
Krishna
have
is
said
there.
they want to open their own, they call it Hare Krishna Society. They want to open their own type of ISKCON so that they will take the place of the ISKCON the Prabhupada created. I consider that offensive.
Yes, of course, because that place has been visited by a pure devotee. He's done everything there. The deities,
Yeah.
he's prepared the deities, and he's done the Pran Pratishtha. It's impossible, right? I mean, I can't accept it because I go every second day to visit it, and I can feel it, right? It's impossible, right? It's impossible. But how it's been run, the ISKCON politics, we can talk about that. What's going on wrong? That's it. The place can't be
Exactly.
wrong. It's impossible.
So in the
I mean-
temple, they're creating an atmosphere which is almost intolerable for spiritual
This is
upliftment.
This is an
But if
accepted
Prabhupada,
statement. Yeah.
supposing Prabhupada in the temple you visit, supposing Prabhupada's kirtan is playing and everyone is chanting Prabhupada's melodies and dancing like Prabhupada, wouldn't that be an astonishingly wonderful experience?
Hari Bol. I wish, bro, it happens everywhere, right?
So let's
Yeah.
make it happen everywhere. The best
Hari
way to
Bol.
get it to
Yeah.
happen is to be mean, or not mean, brutal like me. To say, we're not interested in any of that stuff you're doing, blah, blah, blah. All the quotes, we don't need any quotes. What we need is common sense. No quote required. Prabhupada in the center. Do you need a quote for Prabhupada in the center? I won't even give you one. Prabhupada in the center. And let his kirtans be the standard. Oh, blah, 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 there's so much Prabhupada, no hard and fast rules. Not no hard and fast rules, you know that by now. But no hard and fast rules doesn't apply to melodies. It applies to what caste, what type of person may chant. A butcher can chant Hare Krishna. But at the time of Lord Chaitanya, before he broke open the storehouse of love of God, the chanting of Hare Krishna was just a very rare thing amongst very esoteric devotees of Krishna. Ordinary people couldn't come to hear them chant. So no hard and fast rules means anyone can chant, but not anyone can chant their own damn melody. Does that make sense?
Yes, bro. It makes
And
sense
George,
because
go
Yeah.
ahead.
it makes sense because whenever we are I'm specifically in the temple, I can't relate it. I mean, I and Nitya Moodli Prabhu have been there, and I mean, I just can't relate with the kirtans which they are doing it. And when you hear Prabhupada Kirtan's original YouTube videos, you can just, I mean, it hits your heart. It feels like you can chant more and more and just listen to his lectures and
Yes.
live your life purely. But
So do you
whenever I
see?
listen to them, it's like a rock and roll music fest, right? Like what material
Yeah.
people go, right? It's a fest, right? So it's like $5,000 I pay, right, and go to a fest, which is a musical fest of love and affairs and everything. So it's totally chaotic, but bro, what to do? We can't. I mean, we can just hear it out. We can hear our voices. That's it. Yeah.
So you're
Go.
saying it's not satisfactory, but if you see, you're a voice. I just heard you. Do you know what your words did to me?
Sorry,
They,
bro.
your words inspired me.
Haribol. Jai, bro. All
Yes, Haribol.
Prabhupada's mercy, all Krishna's mercy, bro.
Your words inspired me. I
Yes,
feel respect for you, reverence for you. So just
thank you very
let's
much.
say we're not going to settle for less and get more people like you. I mean, can't you talk to people in that temple and say, we want Prabhupada, not this garbage? Just talk to them.
Exactly.
Will they kick you out?
I don't know, bro. I mean, they don't know that I'm a person. I live there, so no one can kick me
Well, I
out.
don't know what you can get away with. But if you can say, boy, I really wish we could be chanting Prabhupada melodies instead of these melodies. And they can say, but there's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
hard and fast, there's no hard and fast rule for chanting. Now that doesn't mean that. No hard and fast rule means even malachas and shudras and garbage collectors and butchers can chant. That's no hard and fast rules. But the hard and fast rule is you chant like the guru. Well, this guy's my guru. Well, where did he learn to chant? Well, he learned to chant from Prabhupada. Oh, is that the way Prabhupada chanted? No. Well, then what sort of guru is he if he's not giving you what he was given? Prabhupada gave him his pure sound vibration. And why does he then not accept it from Prabhupada? Why did his guru not accept it? His guru wants to do his own.
Prabhu, we have a new person joining us. This
And who it is?
Vrij Sevadas, Prabhu. Haribol.
Has he
Hare
been on
Krishna.
before?
Welcome, Prabhu.
He has been here
I don't
before?
know.
No,
He can introduce himself.
you're
Hare
in
Krishna,
charge.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you introduce yourself? Vrij Sevadas, Prabhu. Haribol. Hare Krishna. Ronald, Prabhu, you know him?
You're
Ramachandra,
welcome.
Prabhu.
No, I have no idea who this is. He joined, and if he can introduce himself, that'll be very nice. Or if he can
Haribol.
make a
Otherwise,
comment on.
we are over time, Prabhu. We are over time.
Yeah.
We should end this, Prabhu. Yeah.
If he is shy, just say we offer you all of us, we offer you our obeisances because we're spirit soul. This is it's the ghosty, and we're speaking frankly in spirit soul. So we welcome you and offer you our respects. No matter who you are, we accept you. Come talk with us.
I guess sometimes, Prabhu, I think that, sorry to interrupt you. I think sometimes, Prabhu, people join, like, I think these people are like from main ISKCON and they join and they listen and go.
That's fine. You know, a person can
Sometimes.
go to an
There's some people which join up.
stand at the door and
Yeah.
listen into the room without taking part. Or a person can sit outside in a circle, but not sit in the group, inner group. But we're saying come into the inner group. And when they are ready, they will. Because,
That's Prabhupada's will, Prabhu. Krishna's
Yeah.
and Prabhupada's will to give you the real truth.
yes,
It's there.
because there's never been a living being that didn't want to be self-expressed.
Haribol.
You
Yeah,
want
exactly.
to be self-expressed. Don't you want to be self-expressed?
Of course, Prabhu.
Everyone.
Come on. Yeah.
Of course. So if somebody
Of course,
comes
yeah.
in and they are shy and won't say anything, we know one thing about them, that maybe they don't understand about themselves. They want to be self-expressed.
It's not, bro, it's not about self-explanatory. They're not shy. They're just come to listen what's happening. And then I guess they're like, mostly what I feel is like they're from ISKCON worldwide and then they just come and then they feel the fear of speaking out, and then they go off. Right.
Yeah, but when they go, then they go somewhere and say, well, I went to that Zoom call and now I'm going to express everything. They express it to their friends.
Exactly, bro.
Everybody
Yeah.
wants to be self-expressed. I guarantee it. What jiva doesn't, what ant doesn't want to be fully self-expressed? Have you ever looked carefully at an ant? They're doing like that, right? I don't know if you
Exactly.
can see my fingers, but my fingers are moving. Are they, don't they ant want to be self-expressed? And we think,
Everyone
oh,
wants
ants,
to be.
well, let's step on the ant, let's poison the ant, let's dig up the ant. We're so monsters. You see? Let's kill
Yes.
the ant. But wait a minute, sir, let's take a careful look. The ant's quite small. So we have to get on our knees and look very carefully, very, very delicately. Does that ant not show the symptom of being self-expressed?
Haribo. Jai.
Can you see me?
So
Oh,
not
I'm
bro.
not in the picture.
Yeah.
I'm not in the picture.
Sorry, bro?
Maybe. Oh, my
Yeah,
video
it's
is-
11 o'clock, Prabhu, so we got to end it in a few minutes if we can.
Yeah,
Is
bro.
this
We're
Ramachandra?
over time, but
We
I
can.
love the
Well,
conversation.
we
so
haven't gone over time. We've gone 2 hours. It took us an hour to get started.
Oh, yes,
Ramachandra,
yes.
can you quickly? We could cut out of the. Let's cut out of the broadcast if we can. Who's
Okay,
in
Mohit
charge of the
Prabhu,
broadcast?
stop the broadcast. Mohit Prabhu, thank you to all
Yeah.
our devotees for
Yeah.
joining online on Facebook.
John.
We'll have another meeting tomorrow. So tomorrow
Hare
will be
Krishna.
most smooth.
Ramachandra, can you give us an update on what the hell's going on with you? Ramachandra, are you there? Ramachandra?
Haribo,
So-
Prabhu?
Yeah, who's there? Is Ramachandra there?
Yeah, bro. He's there. He's there.
And we're no longer recording, right?
Yeah, bro.
We're no longer broadcasting.
Mohit Prabhu, stop the broadcast. We're done for tonight.
Well, I'll give you. I'll
Okay,
give you the.
Ramachandra, are
Yeah.
you there? I want to ask you a question.
Sure, yes.
What
I'm
I'm
happened to
giving you
your
the host,
room?
Prabhu.
What happened to your room?
I'm giving you the host, Prabhu. Just